Hey, this is Michael Lindsay from Vinyl MX. We're out here at Glen Helen Raceway Day with the 6D ATR-3. This is their new flagship helmet. We have the founder here, and Bob Weber. Very simple question, sir. How is this better than the ATR-2? What was the design goals?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of changes and a lot of improvements. The design goals were lighter, more ventilation, improve the ODS system further, integrate the visor, and give us a little bit more of a stylized shell so that we could get, that helped us get some of the weight out without compromising the performance capability of the helmet. So there was a lot going on with this helmet as it went through the design and engineering process.
So I thought it was interesting. We've seen your guys' technology before, how the omnidirectional system works. You basically have shell, you had some sort of suspension system that's changed over the generations how it looks, with another EPS liner inside. And part of how you guys basically got this so small, the original ATR-1 is a bit of a bigger shell because you had all those dampers through it. I think you said it was like, was it
27?
27 of them. You get to ATR-2, you were able to shrink it because you got down to 11, and now this one only has 6 of those systems. That has decreased the size of this helmet massively, but how do you still get not only performance but increased performance if you've had to decrease, if you've decreased anchors? I mean,
if you go back and look at the ATR-1, there was dampers between 2 layers that were separated by about 10 millimeters of space. And those dampers allowed the helmet to compress into the other side, and they controlled the progression, they controlled the rotation or the displacement of that inner liner. In the 2, we went to, one of the goals there was, okay, let's work on the size and the weight. That was one of the things we got a lot of pushback on in the very beginning. We don't really hear it too much anymore because everybody's gotten bigger to make better helmets. But now the inside EPP liner has the progressive dampers built into it, and it lays net on that outer surface of the inner EPS. So, but it can still compress into it. So when you study that inside EPS liner, the hard outer shell of it, it's pushing into the outside EPP and compressing it into the cavities that are in there. So it's a completely different strategy, but it got us basically 10 millimeters back around the helmet.
So this one's on, I believe, a medium size, 120 grams less than the old helmet. It's a pretty decent weight gain, or weight decrease, but where you feel it is where the weight is. And I remember this from another competitor's helmet, I won't quite name who, but there's another helmet on the market between their last helmet and new one, they gained a little weight, but a lot of the weight was top heavy in the shell, and it's very noticeable. You've decreased, any of the weight you've decreased is pretty much out of the top of the shell, so most of the weight, the structural weight of the helmet is down low now.
By redesigning the carrier and less dampers, there's just less weight higher up in the helmet because that damper run is around this perimeter up across the top. So with less, it just moves the center of gravity lower.
High-end helmets, no offense, they are expensive. I listen to you talk pretty passionately up there about being frustrated, like, hey, this helmet does, technology-wise, cost even more than ATR-2. So I'm sitting there waiting, of course, like, everything keeps going up, give me the final price. You said you guys have worked on a lot of the way it is manufactured at the end, like bags, everything, to try to get the price down. What was your ATR-2 pricing? What is your ATR-3 pricing?
So we're going from a $769 retail on the ATR-2, which was designed and engineered before 2018. And we've been building that helmet with some price increases over the years, and it's gone up a little bit from its original. This helmet is $795 retail on the graphic models, and the solids are $760 basically, $759.95. And the savings in this helmet, materials, the carbon, the production line, the cost of turning on the lights, everywhere in the world has gone up, especially since COVID. And I can't see the helmet over $800. I'm a racer too, and I think the statement I made in there is, I don't know if I'd have been able to afford my own helmet back in the day, you know? So we really fought to control that escalating price, and the big advantage here, there's no gluing of the dampers. So when you think about it, 27 dampers the first time, gluing both sides, 11 dampers the second time, gluing both sides. Now there's 6 dampers and they press fit. They slip into a notch. They have a little circlip on the opposite side. There's no glue in the system. We sped up the production line significantly. So we got a savings there that allowed us to go ahead with the carbon. There's a whole nother set of molds required to make this carbon finish beautiful from a visual perspective. perspective. And those molds are about $9 grand a piece. Well, there's technically 4 of them with the youth helmet, right? So now all of a sudden you got, what's that, almost 40 grand in additional cost just to get this finish that everybody, I mean, I appreciate too, it's beautiful. But you know, when you're engineering a helmet and making the decisions of, you know, the marketing side and the sales side of it, all that stuff comes into play because nothing's getting less expensive.
Yeah.
So I was happy to keep it at the price we're able to.
Another thing I like that's interesting with some brands, we slowly are seeing people push away from Snell. I've given my personal opinion that I do think for dirt off-road that Snell is too aggressive of a standard. I personally do not. I personally almost will not wear a Snell shell. That's my personal feeling and opinion. I know you guys feel the same and a lot of brands do. So this is an EC shell, and because of that, you are only selling ECs worldwide. You're not doing, there's some helmets in the US. If you're a consumer, they may make an EC shell. If you're in Europe, you can buy. In US, you can only buy the Snell version.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. No, we make one helmet for the global audience. It's the best helmet we can design and engineer from a standpoint of safety, and we don't think that should be compromised to meet a weight or a standard of, you know, that somebody else is trying to achieve. Now, all that being said, the FIM went to 8.2 meters per second on the high end from 7.5, and like I said in the presentation, that just made it harder to do everything good down on that low energy performance side of the equation. But I'm very happy to report that this helmet is below that, the ATR-2 and everything else, all the way across the spectrum on the low energy requirement stuff. So with the system and the ODS of evolutions, we've been able to improve it to work that way.
And if you're paying attention watching this video, there's a lot of really cool graphics up on the screen right now that's showing data, because one thing I'll give you is, you guys, okay, there's a new standard with EC E2206.
Yep.
You know, somebody can say, oh, we passed that standard. Cool, somebody can go look up the data of what that standard is, but the question mark is how much you pass it by. You've shown all your graphs. Will you pass it by the margin? And I think the closest margin, you're 50% under what requires. There's a lot of them where you're drastically under that. You're not just beating what is required, and not by just 10%, you're beating it by a large margin. That, I guess, is something a consumer can lean back on and go, okay, here's what's considered the standard of what is a safe helmet in a world, but how much safer is this than what's required?
Yeah, and you know, that's the hard thing, because helmets are difficult. Nobody's got a concussion-proof helmet. We all know that. And so, you know, when somebody's making a purchase decision about safety, and that's what we've founded our company on, an improved system, and we've patented it and worked hard to protect it. I think that's what we talk about. It's fun to share some of that data and show what the helmet's doing in the laboratory against some competitive helmets. So we do that without, you know, pointing out competitors, and just, you know, manage it that way.
Now, last one, I will name a competitor just for the fact that when people think of rotational energy, pretty much the two things that probably pop up are MIPS and your omnidirectional system.
Yes.
What makes omnidirectional different than MIPS? What is it that makes your system different, and what is it doing that the MIPS system doesn't?
So really good question, and MIPS has an excellent product, and they've got a lot of brands utilizing it. You really kind of kickstarted once we got our technology to the market in 2013. But the difference in the two is MIPS provides a shear plane where the head can rotate in whichever direction it needs to, some amount to help scrub off that rotational acceleration. And like I shared, it's that change in acceleration, it's the rotational acceleration that is most damaging to the human in an accident, or to their brain, I should say, the stresses and tearing that go along with that.
Yeah.
Our system is suspended, okay? So that inner liner has the ability to displace with 6 degrees of freedom. So that's across X, Y, and Z axes, rotation and translation. It's basically like flight, or really suspension, that the liner has the ability to do what it needs to do to help scrub off some of that energy transfer to the brain. And so that's the difference. Then we do that very well. We're on the 3rd generation of the tech with this helmet, and it's performing better than anything we've done previously.
And then some of the basics everybody's used to seeing. I mean, you guys have a visor that will shear off. You have new shear screws, so when the amount of force is needed to apply, this will pop off. removable safety pads that can be popped out through while the helmet is still on the head to help removal. You guys have a block inside that can be taken out for an eject system for pro racing or people that choose to use it. You have high hydration tube channel. Nose guard is now removable for people who need a little extra space. But your technology is very in-depth, and like I said, we just sat through a presentation. I promote anybody to go to the website, basically. You guys have put out a lot more to explain why your technology does make you safer. I could sit here for 20 minutes and ask you questions about it, because there is so much data in a good way for somebody to understand why this helmet is worth what it is and why it's worth putting on your head.
Yeah. It's crazy, the amount of testing and data that's available or that we go through. It's daunting, and you have to sift through it, and you have to be consistent, and you have to use accredited laboratories to do it, and it's expensive. It's just part of the ball game. But you know, we're very proud of this. It's got a lot of innovation in it. You wait till you ride in it, dude. The airflow is going to blow your mind. It's really, really good.
Huge piece of innovation here. Magnetic clasp on the chin strap. I don't mean that as a pun. It is a really cool thing, but you were actually telling us, like, hey, this costs a little more, but from your guys' end, a simple little click in the strap. If you've bought a 6D in the past, and basically, no offense, you told me this has happened to people, hey, sometimes these would tear, the old click ones would tear out after 2 weeks. That's not a problem anymore. We've got a nice, every little detail.
That right there is probably the most embarrassing and frustrating thing we've dealt with our helmet company ever. Because the snaps would break, and the guy's in Indonesia, or he's in, you know, the UK, or he's in France, or he's in South America, or he's in Maryland, or wherever he is. We got to fix that helmet. There's freight involved. There's shipping parts back and forth. It's been horrible for a 5-cent part. You know, it's just crazy. But the magnetic system is good. We're not the first guys to do that, obviously, but we were able to come up with a design that worked well for us, and we're happy to have that in the helmet. It'll resolve a warranty issue that was no fun.
Cool. Like I said, if you want more info, what is your guys' website? Is it 6D?
6dhelmets.com. Yep. And later today, that's going to go live with everything that we've shared today. And you can surf around and look at graphics and everything else on there.
So, website should answer more questions. If there's anything you feel like I can answer, throw it in the comments section below. And thanks for watching.